Good morning, everybody. My name is Sarah Brill, and I'm a Member Success Manager with APQC. And today we're going to go through an orientation on what our recently revamped education looks like. It's very exciting that what we can offer corporate entities, we now have an option for education. So I look forward to going through this information with you. Here's my contact information, and I will send, you'll get a follow-up with the recording and the slide deck, and certainly I'll have all my contact information. Feel free to reach out to me via phone or email, and I would love to talk to you. So this is just what we're going to cover today. Who we are, APQC, what's a little bit about our history, what the membership looks like, why organizations and school districts choose APQC to help them, what are some of the best practices and benchmarking resources that are available to you through the membership. I will go through a live website tour, and I'll go through a few additional resources and next steps. Some of you may be members, some of you may not be members. Either way, this is either a good overview for those that are members, and then also good information on if you're considering membership or just want to get a little bit more information. Who we are. APQC, first of all, I want to let you know we're located in Houston, Texas. We were founded in 1972. This is our sole location, but we do work all over the globe. But APQC is the world's foremost authority in benchmarking, best practices, process and performance improvement, and knowledge management. APQC's unique structure as a member-based nonprofit makes it a differentiator in the marketplace. APQC partners with more than 550, actually it's 550, member organizations worldwide in all industries. And we've added this recently since at the end of 2016, we came out with this new membership model for education. APQC's North Star Education membership helps education leaders capture, scale, and sustain transformation to improve student outcomes. Our mission is threefold. We conduct research to discover and document world-class business practices. We want to share those proven methodologies and processes with organizations to help them improve. And we help people connect. We assist organizations around the world in adapting and using benchmarks and best practices. We have a specific mission for the K-12 sector. Utilize the same strategies that have transformed businesses to enhance the U.S. education system. So looking at the same inputs, money, technology, people, and then looking at the processes and performance management of those activities that exist within your district, and hopefully through your leadership, increasing student achievement, empowerment, global competitiveness, continuous improvement, and efficiency and effectiveness. Jack Grayson, our chairman, who passed away a year and a half ago, and whose passion for K-12 was what he worked on for the last 20 years of his life, always referenced the North Star, facing the North Star for your guide. And he was very, as I said, passionate about education. He felt we improve our K-12 education system or lose our world competitiveness. So it doesn't matter how good our business economy is if we're not putting out good students and people into the workplace, it doesn't matter. I can do that, sorry. The Grayson Guarantee is something that's really an internal customer service guarantee to our members, who we serve, members and clients, and you'll work smarter, faster, and with greater confidence with our expertise and services. And these are the underlying values that we live by here at APQC to support you. We want to make sure that we're giving you trustworthy answers, lasting solutions, not quick fixes, fearless creativity and structured innovation, individual contribution for collective achievement, and continual learning, sharing, and growth. little bit about our membership. I said we need to get that slide fixed. There's actually now 550 organizations that spans 45 industries, and this is truly a global membership. Since we introduced our new membership model for education, education is the fastest growing sector, which is very, very exciting. A little bit of the highlights, we co-founded the Malcolm Baldrige National Quality Award in 1985. We developed the taxonomy, the process classification framework, which I'll talk about in a moment, in 1992. In 1996 is when Jack really felt business, was doing well. We were, the center had it. Economy was doing better. He began helping school districts create efficient processes within all areas of operation. The Open Standard Benchmarking Collaborative was launched in 2004, and this is our repository of metrics. We have the largest metric database of its kind, so if you want to compare yourself and see where you might be performing well or where there might be some areas for improvement. 2008, the C. Jackson Grayson Distinguished Quality Pioneer Medal was launched. We have some very prestigious winners of that, some of whom spoke at our Process Conference last week, which is exciting. And then knowledge management is an area of competency for us as well, and we've been named 4 times to the KM World list of 100 companies that matter in knowledge management, as well as globally. I don't need to do that. So let me talk a little bit about what membership looks like. APQC, an education membership, every school district employee is a member. And that gives so you log in based on your district domain name. That's how the system recognizes you as a member. And that gives you everyone complete access to all the content, the benchmarking and best practices, all the data, and pertaining to all the research disciplines. And I'm going to go through this in a minute. And also, it gives you access to a network of a community of peers who share common challenges. So there's ways. One of the pieces of our mission is to connect people, and we have something that you can go in and say, people who elected within their when they sign up to be peer searchable, that you can reach out to. And people love this because it puts you in direct contact with those that are facing the same challenges and allows you to talk. So a little bit about what you have access to. We look at things from a process orientation. So financial management, accounts payable, payroll, the human capital management arena. So looking at onboarding, reward and retaining your employees, supply chain, procurement, logistics, your maintenance issues, knowledge management, your transfer of knowledge, what happens when your employees walk out of, a teacher with 25 years of knowledge in her head. And then at the core of that is our process and performance management. You need good processes in order to excel in these areas. And then benchmarks, measurement, best practices, process improvement supports all of these processes. So this shows you what you have access to all these areas. There's 24 different processes that we break out that I will show you, that you have access to best practices, the data that surrounds it, and a community of peers. So why APQC? So actually very good questions. Since last week I talked with lots of people. Might have a new function, you may be in a new function or role, or you may have hired somebody and you want to give them something that can be a resource to them. I talked last week to a superintendent who was struggling with budgeting. So they were new to that role, and I was able to show them information that would be helpful. With some of the metrics, it helps validate a recommendation or position. You can look at cycle time, you can look at FTEs and see where best practice organizations are performing at, and sometimes this helps. Well, we really do need to bring on somebody. Assess your performance, looking at facilities management or procurement, the days to get a purchase order through, allows you to say, yeah, we're doing pretty good, or this is an area for improvement, which means maybe you can save some time here, some money, and funnel those savings into the classroom. And again, when you identify problems within a problem or something related to current operations, You can go in and see how organizations have dealt with that, find the best practices, lessons learned about not going maybe a certain way. And certainly our members love it for a personal expertise and professional development. So I'm going to go through the slide deck, just the resources, and then I'll take you through that live. So one of the first resources is the knowledge base. And this is the world's largest online source of best practices and business drivers, benchmarks and metrics, case studies, tools and templates, books, and other unique content based on primary research. So this is something that we create. It's not reprinted or reprocessed information. And our research services cover 70 different process areas. The repository has over 5,000 pieces of content, 700 case studies, 1,000 plus best practice and business drivers, and again, reports and books. So people sometimes say, oh, it's just a bunch of articles, but it's really, it's so much more than that and so useful. This is our process classification framework that I referenced, that in '92, we created this. And you can go into the website and pull this up. It's a document that's available to everybody. We have cross-industry ones, and we have one dedicated to education, which is the one I'm showing here. And really, at its simplest level, it's just a list of all the processes that exist within a district, and to help define those work processes and help reduce redundancy. So organizations use the PCF to standardize definitions around processes, help benchmark internally and with other organizations, align IT rollouts and updates for similar processes across the organization, to discuss organizational performance using the same terminology across business units and departments. We have found, working with some organizations, what they call X in one area is something else in another, and that's redundancy and rework. So this becomes your one true version of that process. And another very important piece is that it helps organize enterprise content and knowledge. So when you're talking about, school teachers or people who retire and have a lot of information, you want to have a place to help, you want to have a way and a process to organize that enterprise content and knowledge. Okay, let's go to the next one. The second resource is our benchmarking portal, and this is how you get the data that I spoke of. So we have 3 different assessment tools, and I actually started over here. This is the most comprehensive way to get data. Our open standards, very comprehensive, 24 that align with all of those process areas that I talked about, that you can go in and get a detailed report of performance at the process level in your organization. This format does require you to input your data, and the final report helps you to see where you're performing in regards to the top, bottom, and median organizations, and what are those key process indicators driving that best in class. Very comprehensive. Typical turnaround time is 2 weeks. Some people say, well, we don't have all that detailed information, or we don't have time. This is an excellent tool. It's a scaled-down version and gives you an executive summary report that identifies possible performance problems at the function level in your organization. And you get a similar report, not as detailed, of course, but a high-level report of your organization's performance. Typical turnaround time is 2 business days. Some people say, we don't collect data, we don't have time for data, we don't want to share data. The Benchmarks on Demand will allow you to go into our repository of data points and pull up what you need, and you can refine that by your operating budget, your geographical location, etc. And I'll show you examples of this in a moment. And then finally, you have access to a tool called Mosaic. This is about 2 years old, and this helps manage processes in your organization. It helps create a common language. It's a cloud-based tool that creates a common language in your organization to move past defining what the business does and into how that work is done. with higher order solutions such as content management, benchmarking, and sophisticated collaborative process management activities. So this allows you to take that PCF or any framework and start to really overlay that as a template for improvement and start to work through those processes, bring the people together that touch it, and it becomes your one true version of that process. At the same time, when you're working through something, it'll automatically allow you access into the top 3 best practices for that process and the top 3 the metrics for that. So it brings all the pieces of APQC together. And it's designed as part of as part of a centralized process function, or you can use it either as part of the centralized process function or a decentralized area that you want to look at. It helps break through those process silos, because as you start to map out some processes, you'll find some people, as I said, exist in other areas, didn't know they touched it, maybe they don't need to, maybe you need to bring more people in. For those working in a professional services firm, this has been very critical. Help to create process management tool synergy. These process, in some cases, looking at processes is very new, and this helps align that effort. And aligning strategic goals with an executive dashboard. This is when you start to map out those processes, define where those metrics are that you're working towards, and have that dashboard up, and you can touch it as a touch point at any time to see how you're performing. And also customizing your processes, utilizing the framework, your particular processes. There's some information, here just shows you some tools and templates. So you go in, you create the framework, you can create a custom framework bringing in pieces from the ones that already exist. And we are here to support you. And I have a lot more information on this if this is of interest to anybody. And I would actually bring in John Tesmar, Director of the Open Standard Benchmark, who created this to go into more detail. But it's a great tool. And finally, we offer advisory services. So everything that we do that I've gone to so far is included in the membership. We have other things that you have access to, and as a member, you get a 20% discount. So these are kind of the consulting areas that we do. We do operational excellence within districts. We do organizational assessment. So where are you performing right now? You're looking at a 5-year plan. Then we revisit that. Strategy to action, and executive coaching. And certainly we do process performance improvement. We have a lot of areas that we look at, and but I picked out a few of the top ones. My number, and of course if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer. So now I'm going to sneak out of this, and I'm going to go into, this is what it looks like when you go to our website, www.apqc.org. Up here it says Welcome Sarah, because as I said, I have signed into this. And when you go into this and it says log in, it's a simple process. It'll send a link to your email allowing you to set up a profile, setting up a password. And I'm going to just show you the profile. I encourage you to go in here. You can change the password at any time. Also, you can identify your primary areas of interest so that as we push content out to you, you can identify what you are interested in. And here's that peer searchable that I talked about. When you're going into that knowledge base, you can look for, like, people who sign up for that means, yes, you can reach out to me. Doesn't mean you have to sign up for that to utilize it. And then there's lots of great tabs here, a lot of the membership resources that we've talked about, and just all kinds of information. It'll bookmark your searches, and that's why I'll show you in a minute why we have you name them as we upload every night at midnight. So that's just, and as I said, you can go on and register and navigate around here and see a lot of the information, and there's some you can download, but it will give you a great feel for what's available. So going into the knowledge base that I talked about, that's that information repository that you have access to all the content. This is kind of our staff picks at the moment. We have a group of subject matter experts internally and externally that contribute to our primary research and you can go on and just you can always click on that. It'll give you an overview, when was this printed, a little bit of information. As a member, you can download that, and as a non-member, this is as far as you'll be able to go. So I wanted to do, just so you know, you can always go up to the knowledge base, click on that, it'll take you back to that. Recent downloads shows you what your peers are downloading. What are the top 5 picks of the last 2 weeks? And this is interesting, and typically you'll always see something about the PCF. It's not a PCF. The Process Classification Framework, the tool I showed you a little bit ago, is our most downloaded piece of content. And then this is new content. So if you're on here all the time and you just want to do a quick review of what's new, you can click on here. We need to take this off. This happened last week. It was a great success. We actually had a dedicated, it was our Process and Performance Conference. And for the first time, we had a dedicated education track with education keynoters and breakouts, and it was really exciting. Our knowledge management, we do 2 conferences a year. So Process is in the fall, and our knowledge management is in April, or actually next year's in May. There's things that you can sign up for. Any of these webinars, you can go in. There are some that are members only. There's others that everybody can participate in. If you don't, if you're interested, you say, I'm going to be out of town that day, I have a meeting, go ahead and register. We'll automatically send you that slide deck and recording at the conclusion of that webinar. So I'm just going to do onboarding is what I just had a conversation with someone in the district on, they were having a lot of new teachers and they were having issues around onboarding. And so we were working through that. I just put it to Google type search, brought up 328 pieces of content, which is obviously too much to get through. So I did that to show you the depth of what type of content. So maybe you're just looking for case studies. Well, that narrows it down to 40. And then you can do that by industry. You can continue to refine that till you get to a working set of content that feels comfortable. Again, the way that you can, I'm looking for something. This is one specific to education that talks a little bit about, and I know there's a downloading, an onboarding piece in here, but this allows you, again, if you want to get a little bit more information to get an overview. Going back to the knowledge base, we have this Ask Us feature, which is relatively new, I guess in the last couple of years. People, especially new members, feel overwhelmed by the amount of information and how to search for it. So we encourage you to submit an Ask Us. This comes directly to me. I handle all the education requests, and I'll reach out to our subject matter experts. So I just submitted one yesterday. They were just getting ready to do some process mapping. How do you start? What's some good tools? And we were able to come up with a list of 10 items that would be specific to school districts and help them through that. So this is a great tool, and I encourage you to use this. You go in and you position what your question is. If it aligns with any of these, you can pick that. If not, anything that you don't want to ask us, 9 times out of 10 we'll have something for you. Obviously, we don't have something for everybody on everything, but we do our best. And then finally, and I can't bring this up because of privacy issues. So when you go, that's that Find a Peer. If you click on that, you can go in and utilize different criteria. So maybe you want to look at just schools around different topical areas, and it'll bring up a list of people and their titles that have agreed to be peer searchable, and allows you to reach out via email. And that email goes through our central server, so it'll touch base with them first and say, so-and-so wants to reach out to you. Typically, our members love it. That's why they sign up for this. They love to talk to each other, which is a wonderful feature of APQC. So going on to that second resource, the benchmarking portal. Again, I'm going to start backwards. because I like to start with how we get the data the most comprehensive way, and that's that open standards benchmarking. And if you click on that, it gives you a little bit of information about what we're doing, collecting this information. And again, this aligns, everything we do aligns around the process classification framework. Does not mean you have to utilize it, but it is here, if you're using it, it's an added benefit. So looking at managed financial resources. These are all processes that exist within a district. Maybe you're looking at your payroll process and how that might be expedited or changed. So you bring up the home page to the payroll process. And the first thing I encourage you to do is look at the performance measures associated. So this is something that might be of interest to you. Wait, I want to go back up here. How do I get to the top of the? Well, this is the top. Oh, here we go. So we are collecting around the finance and accounting measure, process, 98 measures. As I said, these are very comprehensive. This is an internal ID number. Here's your metric, and then here's the two pieces of data that you would need to supply within the survey that would allow us to give you that metric and give you the comparative metrics against the top performer and the bottom performer. This check mark identifies a key process indicator. Does not mean it is for your district or for you, but we've identified it typically as being one. We align things around cost effectiveness, cycle time, staff productivity, and process efficiency. So all the 24 different areas that you can utilize are consistent. So as you start to roll these out in different areas of the district, you're benchmarking in a consistent manner. And then there's an Excel data collection tool that you can go in, and it houses the actual survey, there's questions that you can, the glossary terms, and then we have a group here at the center. If you have questions when you're filling out these surveys, we encourage you to call. We want to make sure they're as apples to apples as possible, so that the data is that meaningful. And once you have your content, as long as your information collected, you go in and start the assessment. And as long as 60% or more is completed, it will allow us to issue you that final report. And the reason we do that is we don't want you to answer 5 questions. That's not going to be a meaningful representation or help guide you in any way. And once we get that assessment, it goes through a stringent validation process, and we kick out anything that's associated with the Gmail or junk data. And we normalize, aggregate, and blind all the information, and so that there's no proprietary information shared. We have to have data points 6 or more to make a sample size. So it's clearly very confidential, and we don't share any of the data with any of the organizational names. If something's 2 or more standard deviations from the norm, standard deviations from the norm, we will reach out to you and say, is this correct? So it goes through a really unique validation process. And once we have gone through that, which I said usually takes 2 weeks, we will send you that final report. Our subject matter experts are happy to work through that with you and talk through that, but it will allow you to see where you're performing in the top, where the top performer is, with the bottom performers, and where your district is. So that's a very comprehensive way. And some people say, well, we don't have time to do that, or we don't collect that data. So we have our rapid performance assessment tool, which again looks the same, but bringing up that same payroll survey, you'll see that it's, when you look at the measures associated with this, it's only about, it's only 7 measures. So this is a way to get you, well, actually, let me go down. 11 measures, I apologize. The first one was a sample glossary of what those terms mean. So this is 11 measures. It's a much quicker kind of exercise to help you identify where some pockets of performance improvement may lie, or where you're performing well. Also, this validates, you're like, well, we're already performing well. Let's focus our resources maybe somewhere else. And then finally, the third assessment tool that's available to you is our Benchmarks on Demand tool. This is where say, I don't want to share data, I don't have data, I'm not interested, again, you can go in, and this brings up, this is the 8.5, which aligns where payroll falls within the process classification framework. You can go in and see all the metrics that are associated with the payroll, and you can select all of those, and when you do that, or you can just pick a few, it highlights this as the next step to select your peer group. And again, I said earlier that we house everything in your profile because you may look at it 2 weeks from now, a month from now, and the data may have changed because we upload every night at midnight. So we go in here, and for industry, as we've just started making this available to educators, most of it falls under services because, as I said, we have to be careful of that 6 or more. So in some cases, educational pops up. In others, it may not. It'll be under services. And then you can go in and pick your geographical location and your operating budget. And then you can look at the report, and it brings that up. And it'll show you the sample size against the entire database, the geographical location, the operating budget, and the services. And it'll show you where the bottom is performing, the median, and the top in regards to the measure. So people love this, and then you can export that to a PDF or an Excel spreadsheet, utilize it again to validate resources. So people really, really like that. So now I'm going to go, that takes you through the resources. I'm going to go back to our slide deck. And again, as I said, we will be sending this out to you. So actually, we've come to the conclusion, and it's a little bit about the benefits recap for those of you, just to do a little bit of recap. Membership is a comprehensive access. There's not a certain number of seats that are available. It includes all school district employees. Our best practice resources, the online searchable knowledge base that contains the best practices, the case studies, the tools and templates, everybody has access to. The benchmarking portal gives you access to instant benchmarks and then more comprehensive performance assessments based on how you want to pull those data points. The Ask Us is personalized responses to your process improvement questions. Reach out to me if you're too busy and let me help you. You have access to expert-led webinars, and we have actually a really exciting one coming up next month, where a school board and the superintendent are going to present together. They've had some great success, and it's an inspiring story. So you'll have access to those, and then your dedicated APQC relationship manager, which is me, to help you. So you always have someone to call, and I'm always here to help you. What I recommend at this point is make sure you're registered and invite maybe some of your colleagues who are considering this as a resource internally, or if you're members, to start using it. Look around the knowledge base and check out the assessment tools. As I said, once you've registered, it allows you some flexibility around the site. I'm always here. If you have any questions, my contact information was at that first slide, and we're going to send that out. But do we have any questions? I have someone sitting here with me. Do we have any, with the live webinar, do we have any questions?
How much is what's the cost for the membership?
That's a great question. It's actually very exciting. Recently, so a corporate entity pays $25,000. We knew that wasn't scalable for education, so we've just started about 18 months ago. We offer it based on the number of schools in the district. If you have under 50 schools, it's $1,000. If you have 51 to 150, it's $2,500. And anything, we cap it at 151. Anything over that is $5,000. It's the same membership. So since we've done that, education is our fastest growing sector. So we're very excited about that. Any other questions?
Yes. How easy is it to upload performance data?
So if you're talking about the benchmarks on demand, as I said, once you identify that, you can just export that to a PDF or an Excel spreadsheet. If that's if whoever asked that question, if I'm not answering it, please feel free to reach out to me and I'll go into more detail with you.
Are there any other questions?
All right. Well, I want to thank you all for taking the time. I hope that you got some, you feel that you've learned a lot. If you need anything, please feel free to reach out to me, and I look forward to talking with you. Thank you again.